guys, my name is Mark from JazzGuitarLessons.net. Welcome to the short video about walking bass lines. There's a few classic ones on YouTube, on my channel and other channels. So here we're going to build a walking bass line for jazz chord progressions in 3 easy steps. Namely, super simple, build a bass line, add the chords, and then after that, the third step is to start to add ornaments, add meat around the bone. So let's get going right away. Our chord progression for this video, guys, take a note, we're gonna do the 2-5-1 in the key of C, so D minor 7 or D minor 9 of sorts, to a G, I like to use a G13, that's your 5 chord, and back to the 1, I like C major 9, C 6-9, 6-9 like this. Use any other versions of chords you like, and I think in the last bar, in the 4th bar, we're gonna use an A7, so A13, A7, flat 9, flat 13, some sort of an A altered, and that's how we're gonna go. So 2, 5, 1, 6, those are the 4 chords used throughout this video. Step 1, build a bass line. Pretty easy. Put the root of the chord on beat 1. That's like this, so I'm gonna count it out loud. Make sure you can follow. 1, 2, 3, 4, a D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, to A, again, 3, to oh, already we have chromatics. Nice. 3, 4, C, C, A, another chromatic, and that's it. So after you got that down, the rest of a walking bass line should be thought of as a counterpoint line. It's like the carpet of the band, while you have the melody all the way up here, and then the carpet is your bass line, and then somewhere in the middle you have the harmony and the singers and whatever, the drunk sax players, it's whatever you want. So the trick for making a good walking bass line is after you hit the beat 1 with the root of the chord, so the D, the G, and the C, and the A, what you want to do next is to make sure that you're either using scalar or modal notes or the notes of the arpeggio. You could build a bass line decently from just arpeggio, like... That sounds a bit pedantic, but it does work. It's not always going to be the best option, because you need to find the notes. Now that's going to be step 2, to find the chords that go under that, so you can't always just climb arpeggios and expect everything to walk magically with the walking bass. What you can do is use walking steps, meaning that you can go right, so I went from D, C, G, A, D, C, B, A, G, so now we're on the G, finally. And you can use any trick in the book to play parts of scales, parts of arpeggios, and even chromatic stuff that we'll tackle a bit later on to make your walking bass line. There it is. So what I encourage you to do now is you can pause this video and see how well you can build a line that always has the root of the chord on beat 1, and that's consisting of, you know, the low strings on the guitar, and that you can connect your chords. So let me give you a couple of examples and see if you can follow along. Ready? Can't help myself. And that's it. Great job. So as far as technique goes, you can't see this on camera really, but I'm using hybrid picking. So if you want to do walking bass, you really need some fingers that are ready to pluck, and a finger or your thumb that's ready to play the bass note. So either if you go hybrid or full finger style, or else playing walking, like purely walking bass with just a pick, it's not gonna pan out well. You can sort of do it, but it's not gonna sound the same. So go for that finger pluck. I will play the bass note on a D minor 9 with my plectrum, and then I will chunk the chord, stab the chord with my fingers. All right? So that's for interlude number 1. Step 2, add the chords under your bass line. Okay, you can repeat the same bass line over and over and over. It's fine. I gave you a couple of examples. Do whatever you want with this, and now you have to determine a shape that's going to be friendly for your left-hand fingers, and that's going to sound the right chord. So namely, one thing I would try to do in my case would be to go, all right, this is the D minor 9, and I'm going to go, that's a G13. So start with those two, and whichever way of plumbing between the two you chose, like the one I showed you, like da, 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 just ensure that this bass line remains strict, that the bass line does not move regardless of how you do the chords on top. Hit the chord right on beat 1 and make sure it doesn't ring out like... Don't let it ring out like this, just go... Just stab it for one chord, for one beat, all right? And that's it. That's the secret of of step number 2, which is adding the chords. The fine print at the bottom of the contract is if you want to do a walking bass like this, the problem with most of my students will be that as soon as they start to add the chord tabs, then the bass line sort of get all over the place. So your goal is to maintain the walking bass line's integrity while you add the chord punches. Yeah, so you have to split your mindset into 2. There's bass and then there's the chord tabs. Namely, I work with a really small group of students in my Jazz Guitar Accelerator. If you're interested in finding out more about walking bass line, advanced comping techniques, soloing, improv, bebop, all the stuff, this is the stuff I do on my tailored program. This is one-on-one coaching. Check out the link in the description or right here on YouTube. Book a call. We'll just assess if we can have a plan, see what you want to work on, advanced walking bass or whatever else, and see if we can make it work for you. All right, book a call. It's totally free of charge. And it's with me. I work alone. So, okay, let's keep going with the third step now. Okay, so in the third step for building your walking bass on guitar, we will add ornaments. So icing on the cake, meat around the bone. And 3A is adding meat around the bone of your bass line itself. And step 3B is adding meat around the bone for the chords, so variations on the chords. So how do you do it for a bass line? Well, one of the first things you have to find out about bass lines is that the 2 bass notes that are important for a chord is the 1 and the 5. So 1, 5, that's for your D minor. Then for the G, it's G and D. And for the C, it's C and G, right? So you could build a bass line simply in half notes instead of quarter notes that goes like this. 2, 3, 4. Right, you're playing in half time. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, so that is the trick of starting to build better bass lines, because now once you have the 1 and the 5, the first and fifth degree of the chord on beats 1 and 3, then you can just chromatic into that. And then you start to have more variations. Yes, of course, you can still use arpeggio notes like... That's still workable. But what if you combine your 1, 5, 1, 5, 1 with the arpeggio note, with the scalar note, with chromatic approaches? And now this boils down to basically the stuff I keep repeating myself with my accelerator students. It's like you always have to aim at somewhere. If you're on a D now, the D chord matters less than what you're going to do in order to get to this next chord, which is the G, right? So one of the things I would do, in my mind, I go, all right, if this is on beat 1, and then this is on beat 3, maybe I'm going to do beat 3, beat 4 is here, and beat 1 is here. So, 2, oh, we're starting to go to town. And then what else do I want to do with this note? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, we made it safe. Whew, perfect. Ba, 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 ba. Now I'm on G. Now I know G, I have beat 1 and beat 3. Ba. So what do I do with this? I'm like, I don't want to do the same trick. I'm sort of brainstorming at the same time. So I'm going to do G, A, B, D. That's part of the G pentatonic scale. It's beautiful notes. So just to recap, on my D chord, I'm going to go D, D, G, da, da. And now I made it safe. Woo! Okay, I'm here. And then this C is going to last for a little bit, so then I'll have C, and then I can go, I want to climb up the scales. I know I'm going to an A7 next, so how do I go from this note to this note? Chromatic, C, B, B flat, and then surround the A with an enclosure. How about that? That sounds good. So to recap, D twice, and let's have the tabs on the screen for the whole thing, right? D, D, A flat, G, A, B, D, C, B, B flat, G sharp, A. Oh, we made it. Let me do that faster. 3, 4. Now for the A, I went da, 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 da. And that's how you add meat around the bone for the bass line, all right? And now how do you add meat around the bone for the chords? That's gonna be the hardest part of the video. If you're still hanging out here, congratulations, it's gonna be tough. And well, it's simple, it's not easy to execute, okay? So you can play chords in 3 places, okay? Look at this. This is hilarious. I do this for a living, by the way, teach guitar. You can play the chord right on the beat. You can play the chord before the beat, or you can play the chord after the beat. If you find any other possibility, just phone me. Well, you can phone me and tell me, yeah, you don't have to play the chord at all. Wise words, wise words. So, just play the chord on the beat, play the chord before the beat, play the chord after the beat. Let's start with chord right on the beat, okay? So that's step 3B. Now we have a walking bass, we have a decent chord, so this chord, this chord, this chord, and this chord. We have them. We have a bass that we determined we can ornament, step 3A, and now we have step 3B where we're gonna go, well, where do we want to put the chord? On it, before, or after? And if we were to put it right on it, I'd recommend just doing a short stab. Ready? Ah! Again, D. Good. Right on the beat. Pretty easy. Since the chord is lasting 2 bars, what you can do is you might do a chord stab right on beat 1 and on beat 3. So 1, sorry, 1. Sorry, I don't have the chord shapes at hand to do that. But what you can do is just elect to play on the downbeat 1, but also on the other downbeat, the third beat, which is the strong beat of the bar. So beat 1 and 3, you play right on it. Now, starting the variations, do the exact same friggin' chord shapes that you determined, but displace them B later. So play the bass, and then do a chord stab up in the air on the 8th note. So that's the easiest one, right? 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and then you can do the same process with the upbeat of the 3 as well. So I didn't prepare any of the chord shapes, but it is doable. Trust me. This is, by the way, I'm having so much fun doing this. I hope you're having as much fun doing it with me as I have here. So you see, in all fairness, it's worth taking the time to know where these chord shapes would fall if you want to do a chord on a line that's moving, but to make the bass line move. See, I just got trapped in my own teaching, if you will. It's like, hey, if that line's about to move, if you want to do anything else on top of it, don't have the line move. It doesn't have to. It needs to keep going, so you need to adapt the chords. So now we've done, now that I've totally humiliated myself on YouTube, right on the beat is done. But after the beat is done, now what you can do is much harder, is just to have a chord pluck before the beat. So and a 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 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 1. So that one is much harder, and it's much longer to get a hold of, and that's it for the lesson. All right, quick recap: the 3 steps again: build a bass line that's decent, stick to it, repeat it. Number 2. Put a chord on beat 1 for each of those. If you're wise, you don't want to get stuck with me like in this video, you will put a chord on beat 1, you put the chord on beat 3 as well, okay? And then step 3, you want to do an ornament on your bass line. So instead of a just boring bass line with just beat 1, you can have scalar movement, arpeggio movement, chromatic enclosures, anything that works. And then in step 3B, as you know, sorry, cat hair, and in step 3B, what we did is we started to put the chord on the beat, after the beat, or before the beat. And that's it. So ultimately, during the course of a bar, you can have multiple chord stabs, but you can also determine them as, are they falling with my bass line, before the bass line, or after the bass line? Notice that the one that is anticipated is much more challenging to get. The proof is in the pudding. You saw it's pretty tough. So that's it for the lesson. Thanks for watching, guys. I have some more advanced tips if you want to stick around. All I want to tell you as well is I have this group of students called the Jazz Guitar Accelerator, a paradigm in which I help you guys increase your skills, but at the same time you get my personal feedback on your assignments. You can make progress of years worth of work. You know, guys that go and take the certificate at Berkeley and like, dude, I came with Smart for like 3 weeks and things totally changed. So come on a call with me, it's totally free of charge. Check it out. Worst case scenario, I'll point you in the direction of different resources I have online, but I love working one-on-one with people. And you can just check out the link in the description to see if you qualify. All right, for the advanced guys, I have 2 caveats. One big one is that you are not a bass player. Okay, so far, I'm teaching this stuff on YouTube. It's like you could do this, you could do that. Just know that a relatively decent bass player that plays jazz will blow you right out of the water as far as how it sounds. Number one, because that's all they do. You know, they don't have the responsibility for learning all the chords and whatever like we do. And there's a factor of register in the way an instrument is played. So don't get bogged down. That's the second caveat as well. This is an advanced comping technique. It's like walking chords or bossa nova comping or inversions, whatever. It's a tool. And yes, you can have an octave or pedal and go, yeah, when I play notes on the bottom two strings, it goes down an octave. Yes, it might sound right, but just know and be at peace with the fact that you will never sound as good as a bass player. That's my point. And lastly, for advanced studies, so if you guys have been looking at this and go, yes, so what? Pretty easy. If you're able to do that on other chord progressions on your own, you build your line, you add the chords, and you can start to look at blues and stuff like that, go to the Galbraith book. I'll flash it on the screen here. Barry Galbraith, Volume 3, the comping book. It has several really good studies. It has some with walking chords. They're not really like walking bass, but walking bass has Like Someone in Love and Wind. So that's Gone with the Wind. It's called Wind number 2 in the book. Those are really great because they're all written. No, do not write me. I don't have the tabs. I don't have them tabbed out. It's just sheet music. If you're at that point on your journey, I think you can muster, learning a few notes right on staff. And at the end of that book, there's also walking bass lines written from the recording of the Galbraith studies. It's Milt Hinton on bass. So he's just like playing a bass line, and they're transcribed. And they're in treble clef. They're not in bass clef. So that's a great place to go if you want to learn actual bass lines that a bass player would use and see if you can compose your own chord stabs in between, right? So that's it for the advanced lesson. I will leave you for this YouTube video with an improvised version of a walking bass on Stella by Starlight in the key of B flat. Please like and subscribe this video, of course, thank you. And I will see you in the next video and the rest of this YouTube channel. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. Take care.